Greetings. Today I want to talk to you about something that I know to be a very prominent issue, and it is something that I have come across myself, something that I have learned to see through, and it is something that almost everyone, I'd say even 99.99999% of the world goes through. Now, most of you probably have not guessed, but what I'm talking about is procrastination. And it is something of an issue these days, because previously people had specific activities to be dedicated to work towards, goals to achieve, a lifestyle to maintain. But today, many of you have been brought up in complete comfort, and you aren't comfortable with doing what's important. And it is, in fact, as I find, not one's inability or internal dislike towards something that stops one from doing it. It is one's innate rebellious nature that pushes you towards rebellion against the ideas that you know to be important, but that are contrary to your current lifestyle. Anyway, you see, people don't want to change. In fact, people oppose change. People are change averse. And it is something I've learned from personal experience. It is something I've learned from extensive observation. It is something that I have read in many books about psychology, about people's minds, about how they work. And it is something that I find true in many ways. And it is this issue that I am currently thinking of a way to oppose, because no matter how hard you're going to try to force yourself, your nature will eventually prevail. Because if I have learned anything throughout the years of my research into human minds, it is that humans can never go against their nature. And therefore what I am thinking right now is that people ought to destroy their current character, to tear yourselves down and build one anew, build a new you. To do that, you must first realize that you are not special. You see, humans suffer from deep narcissism. In some it is more apparent than it is in others. Now, to go deeper into this, first I should probably tell you that there is a spectrum. On one end of this spectrum is the ideal person, the person who's not self-absorbed, who views the world objectively, and who can perform regardless of how he feels. Now, on the other end is the totally obsessed, self-obsessed freak, who will do anything, who will take everything personally, who thinks the world revolves around them. And now most people are somewhere on this spectrum, somewhere towards the self-absorbed side, I presume, rather ubiquitously, because not many people have achieved anything in their lives, anything of substance at least. And to break that cycle of disparity and mediocrity, you have to tear down the scale, and you have to build yourself anew. And to do that, you have to realize that you are not special. In fact, you are weak. You're a nobody. And if by chance some of you have had experience with law enforcement, you would indeed understand what I'm talking about. Because when you deal with the enforcement mechanism of a state, you feel your true powerlessness in the face. I wouldn't even say an enemy, but definitely a foe. And you are weak, and you really can't do much about that, because individual or marginal effort is not going to break down the system that runs this world, that programs people especially in the West, I find. I don't know what the reason behind this is yet, but I'm sure there is some sort of agenda towards making your own people weak. And it is something that requires a multilateral solution. A solution that requires great powers to act together to tear down the current world order. Now, to do that, people will need to realize that they are weak, that they are insignificant, and that they are replaceable. You can be, and the next day, you might disappear. And no one's going to question why, because really no one gives a shit, no one cares about you. Only you and perhaps your closest allies care. But on a global scale, no one cares about you. Think about the last time you saw some person doing something completely bizarre, something weird, something totally out of order on the street, acting crazy. You don't remember. Or at the very least, you probably don't even remember how that person looked like. What that person looked like, rather, how they acted, because really you don't care. It's something momentary. And it is this that you have to realize. You, everyone else, you're all replaceable. You're a nobody in this world. No one cares about you. Even you yourself, you work to your own detriment, and it is your nature to do so. You always seek the easy way out. My friends, some of you are simply doomed to a measly existence of a slave. Others, the vast, or rather the very small minority of you, might be able to break free of this cycle of disparity. But I highly doubt that. Maybe 1 in a million, maybe 1 in 100,000. I wouldn't be able to speak of the precise statistics, but certainly very few of you will ever be able to be truly free, if at all. And even then, the enforcement mechanism, even if you're the most powerful, richest person in the world, will be able to take you down easily. Just think about Google right now. Google is perhaps the most powerful company in the world, having information on almost every individual that lives on this planet. And yet, they are being sued by smaller companies because they have monopolized the ad industry. And there is no damn thing they can do about it, despite all the hundreds of billions of dollars they have amassed in revenue and even gross profits. They cannot escape the judicial power and the enforcement mechanism that it brings about of the United States or the European Union. Same as Apple. Apple is now being forced to move all their devices to USB-C charging, and the devices that use lightning connectors will be banned from production and from sales at a future point in the European Union, and indeed probably around the world, because it would trigger a chain reaction. And it is this knowledge that you should understand, and more so the fact that it is not something that can be fixed instantaneously. Even I am well on my way to solving this issue, and still I am working towards it indeed. It is something you're going to have to work towards, perhaps for years. But what really matters is not failing to work your way through this issue and build yourself anew. That will be all for today. Take in my teachings and make use of your new knowledge. Remember, always think from the rational perspective, and don't let your emotions cloud your judgment. Not even your personal ego should have a stake in what you decide.